Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. My name is Karli Barnett. I'm here at the First Alert Desk, and we want to give you a rundown of what we are covering for your Sunday. We just wrapped up our afternoon meeting. That's where we tell our reporters and videographers what stories they are going to be covering today, and we have a lot to get to. So this is our little behind-the-scenes look of what you can expect today. But before we get to that, I do want to give you a quick programming note that we will not have a 6:30 newscast due to the PGA tournament, but we will have you covered for 9 and 10 on Peachtree TV, as well as 11 o'clock on CBS. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and get focused on what you can expect for a little later tonight. We do want to point out this is just what our reporters and videographers are starting to work on. Things may change, information may get added, we may get different developments, so we don't have all the video yet. That's what they are getting for each of these stories. So I do want to bring us to the first story that we are going to be covering today. Reporter Asia Wilson is going to be looking into this, but an investigation is now underway after a 72-year-old man was shot and killed in Commerce this morning. That's in Jackson County, and this information is according to the Commerce Police Department. So police say Calvin Varnum was shot outside of a Hardee's on Homer Road around 7:30 this morning. Now, he was actually resuscitated at the scene by a Good Samaritan. So this is a person that stopped, tried to render aid. Unfortunately, Varnum was transported to the Northeast Georgia Medical Center where he later died. But police say they are looking for a suspect. Surveillance video has led them to believe that someone in connection to this case was seen leaving the scene in a dark blue Dodge Journey traveling north on Homer Road. So reporter Asia Wilson is looking into this. She is headed to the scene right now. So that happened this morning. A 72-year-old man shot and killed around 7:30 a.m. in the parking lot of a Hardee's in Commerce. A Good Samaritan stopping to at least attempt to render aid to try to help this man, who unfortunately did die a short time later after they were transported to the hospital. But police say they are looking for a man who was seen in a dark blue Dodge Journey traveling north on Homer Road. So we have that information up for you on AtlantaNewsFirst.com if you want to read a little bit more about it. But in the meantime, we are trying to gather elements and get a little bit more detail as to what happened there. And speaking of our website, AtlantaNewsFirst.com, I do want to draw your attention to a story that we have up there right now. This is a very interesting story. An investigation is underway at the Fulton County Jail after an inmate was accused of digging a hole through the wall to lead an attack on another inmate. This is a picture of the suspect here. This is Kavian Thomas. He's an inmate at the Fulton County Jail accused of doing this. I'm going to scroll a little further down on this story. Take a look at this. This is the hole that investigators say he dug through the wall of his cell. They say at that point, that gave him access to the adjacent cell block where Derodney Russell was attacked. Russell had multiple stab wounds to his upper body. That's according to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, that he's being treated at a medical facility now. And after this alleged attack, Fulton County Sheriff's Office officials say they found multiple weapons, including shanks made from parts of the, quote, dilapidated building structure. Interim Fulton County Jail Commander Curtis Clark saying, quote, "It presents a constant challenge for us to eliminate things like this from access to the inmates. This jail has clearly outlived its useful life. That reality makes it even more challenging for us to do our job of providing the safest possible environment, not only for staff, but for the inmates as well." Again, that is according to the Fulton County Jail Commander Curtis Clark. So Thomas is currently facing additional charges. This is his image here on your screen. This story is on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. You can read all about it, but I mean, you take a look at this hole. This looks like something out of a movie. He is accused of digging this hole through his cell to gain access to the adjacent cell where he is accused of stabbing and attacking another inmate there. Just a completely crazy story that something like this happened, but it is being investigated, and he is now facing even more charges. Taking you back out here to move on to our next story. This happened this morning in a very popular area. Police say that 2 people were shot near the Trader Joe's on Peachtree Road in Buckhead. They are now open again today. The store is. Hours after the parking lot was the scene of a crime, police say 2 people were shot in the Trader Joe's parking lot on Peachtree Road just before 3 a.m. Now, keep in mind there are a few bars next door. It is an area known for nightlife. Police say there were several people in the parking lot fighting when someone started shooting. The 2 victims impacted are expected to survive, but police say they are still looking for the shooter who took off. At this point, they have not said if they have anybody in custody. They have not given any sort of description of a suspect, but that happening in the early morning hours around 3 a.m. That Trader Joe's now back open. They are not related to what happened here, but police say the crime scene took place in their parking lot, which again is adjacent to several bars, an area known for nightlife, happening in the early morning hours. If you are doing a bit of traveling, you may want to keep in mind that travel has hit a pandemic-era record. It's going to be very busy at the airports. In fact, Friday, which is when summer break is just starting, they already saw some record numbers, and you can only imagine what it's going to be like for Memorial Day weekend. So do keep that in mind if you are traveling for Memorial Day. But in light of that news, an interesting development, and that is that the NAACP has issued a travel advisory for the state of Florida. Obviously, being here in Georgia, a lot of us may travel to Florida for our summer vacations. And they did this because they say it is in direct response to Governor Ron DeSantis's, quote, aggressive attempts to erase Black history and to restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. The group said this in a written statement, again saying, quote, Florida is only openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals. Before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. I am reading directly from a statement issued by the NAACP, so something that another one of our reporters is working on. Yasmina Alston is reaching out to our branch here in Atlanta of the NAACP, trying to get a little bit further comment on that. This is obviously a pretty extraordinary thing to happen, them issuing a travel advisory for an entire state, saying that the state and specifically the governor is hostile to people of color and people of different sexual orientations. So this is big news today. Florida, an extremely popular travel destination, especially those of us just one state north up here in Georgia. So we are looking into that. We're trying to get a little bit more clarity on that. Reporter Yasmina Alston is digging into it. So I want to take you back just to do a quick recap of some of our top weekend stories. Oh, there's one more that I wanted to tell you about here. There it is. That's the video. The latest on the water main break situation in Cobb County. We have been following this since the news broke on Friday, but roads have now reopened near the Battery, Atlanta. That happened this morning, and you'll remember if you were trying to get to or from a Braves game, not only did you have to contend with the rain last night, but you definitely had to contend with the traffic situation as a result of the water main break and having to navigate around that. Another Braves game tonight, so hopefully a lot more easy going for you there. But roads have reopened after this water main break forced crews to close them. This is all according to a Cobb County Department of Transportation spokesperson, but it was a 12-inch water main that failed. It was at Circle 75 between Herodian Way and Windy Hill. It all had to be shut down. Southbound lanes in that area had remained closed up until today. So that is one less thing that you have to worry about if you are working to navigate that area in Cobb County. Hopefully a little bit less of a headache there now that they have that problem resolved. So just another rundown here of what we're working on. A 72-year-old man shot in Jackson County this morning in the Hardee's parking lot. A Good Samaritan was kind enough to stop to attempt to help this man, to attempt to resuscitate him. He was transported to the hospital where he eventually died. That man, Calvin Varnum, he has been identified as. Reporter Asia Wilson is headed to Jackson County to Commerce to try to learn more about what happened there. But police are looking for a man they say got away in a blue Dodge Journey. They say they have not said if he is the suspected person involved, but the suspected gunman, I should say. However, they did say that they believe this person could be connected to the crime. And an investigation underway after a Fulton County inmate is accused of digging a tunnel through his cell to gain access to the adjacent cell to allegedly attack and stab the inmate in that cell. If that is the case, he is facing further charges, and the Fulton County Jail obviously been the topic of multiple headlines recently, something they are certainly looking into of how he was able to even do this and how long he had been doing this. And a Buckhead grocery store open today. Trader Joe's back open after it was the scene of a crime early this morning. This is in Buckhead. Police say 2 people were shot in the parking lot there. They believe it was a fight that had spilled over from the bars nearby, but police are still looking for a gunman. At this point, they have not released any identifying details. And something else we are looking into in this busy travel time, the NAACP issuing a travel advisory for those seeking to travel to Florida, saying that the state is hostile to people of color, that the state is hostile to people in the LGBTQ plus community, and they are issuing a travel advisory for anyone who wants to plan their summer vacation there. We have reporter Yasmin Alston looking at that, trying to get comment from our local branch of the NAACP here in Metro Atlanta. And finally, for those who live or are enjoying Cobb County, keep in mind that water main break has now been cleared. So one less traffic headache for your weekend, that issue has now been resolved after taking pretty much the entire weekend once that water main failed to get back up and running. So that is a quick look at what we have going on for you this evening. Again, we do not have a 6:30 newscast. However, we will have a 9 and 10 newscast over on Peachtree TV and again at 11 over on CBS. Meteorologist Cutter Martin is going to have your full forecast later, but in the meantime, I will leave you with this cloudy shot of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The good news is really no rain. Maybe a bit overcast depending on where you are. I'm looking out the window here at the station, and it looks nice and sunny for now, but it has been a bit of a hazy day. But hey, definitely no rain like we saw yesterday. That's the good news. Meteorologist Cutter Martin is going to have all of that for you later. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Take care and have a great rest of your weekend.